Yeah, I think there was a few times when I screamed where it was like I was riding my bike and I like slammed into the back of a car and I was just like,
What?
"Ah!" Like in pain.
Okay.
It was that time what had happened is my brakes had gotten wet, and so I'm speeding in and I'm gonna brake, but the thing is that the brakes when they're wet they don't work, so it was just like, well, bam.
Okay, that's a little bit of a different kind of screaming Keyframe and I were referring to, but either way, hello and welcome everybody to the 100th episode of ANY and Keyframe Wonder About Random Dribble, also known as the AWKWARDCast.
We actually did!
Damn it, I wanted to get one of those really pathetic ones.
Your voice already sounds like a noisemaker, darling. I think you're good.
Thank you. But yeah, there's nothing more pathetic than having a single noisemaker and just going like.
You should get it on your phone. What's more pathetic is having it on a soundboard. You can't even go and get the real thing.
But yeah, I didn't bring a noisemaker, but I brought something else. Oh no, I cannot find it. Where is it?
Don't scare our guest away when he just got it.
Oh, I thought you said noisemaker. I thought that was my introduction. Don't worry, I'll
No. It's party time because 100 episodes.
Are you just doing a humble brag for the fact you have a green screen?
Maybe. But yeah, now I would need the noisemaker.
Anyways,
I failed 100% on any perceivable way, but
100%.
It's what I do. But yeah, this time for reals. Also with us today for the 100th episode, special guest, Puffin Forrest, aka Ben, or the other way around. Puffin, for those people out there who are like, huh? Please tell us. Who are you, what do you do, and why should people care?
My name's Ben, Puffin Forrest. I make animations on YouTube. I talk about Dungeons & Dragons, tabletop RPGs, and I make animation videos talking about my stories on my game and what my players come up with and stuff we do in our game.
As you can see,
yeah.
It's a spitting image that he animates.
Yes. That's actually a thing. When you first did your face reveal, I was like, Why did you choose this design for yourself while all the other characters are not that?
It was funny because the actual design for the character where it originally came was it was just like, oh, I need to draw a character, and so I had this like standard head and then standard kind of design using these ellipses, and the reason why was because all of my artwork was done on a mouse, and so I had to have a character design that you could do with a mouse in just a few clicks, and so that was why it was like oval head, oval body, it's easy to reproduce kind of a thing, because I have to draw it over and over with the mouse. But I think it's also just because when I was a kid, like, I was always, like, someone who was, like, a little bit more overweight than a lot of my friends. Like, I was 40 pounds, 50 pounds heavier than a lot of my other friends who were normal-sized. And when you're someone who's just, like, a little bit overweight, you feel like you stand out from everyone else. Like, you feel like you look different. Like, I'm different from other people. And there's something about that psychologically. And so that's how it translates to the character is like, my character looks different from everyone else. It's kind of that standing out sort of thing.
Is that the one is that the character that you had that was every single class? It sounded like Zoidberg.
Oh, Absurd. Oh, no. I will help you now. Okay. You're probably dead. I will. Oh, that is very bad.
But
yeah. Great having you on the show. I believe you have been a media on the show before. Now you are a person. I'm not sure if this is an upgrade or a downgrade. You can decide this for yourself.
The whole thing was that I think you promoted him on the show, and then when we were coming up with a guest want list betwixt all of our shitpost of every kid from Stranger Things and Obama, you were like, wait.
I am still serious about Obama, and nothing against you, Puffin.
I'm not Obama on the show. I don't have that ability.
You haven't. Have you sincerely?
You're good, but you're not that good.
Have you sincerely tried?
Like honestly, if he contacts and say he wants on the show, And then eye contact, like, you gotta choose one or the other, like, perfectly, go for Obama. Like, if you gotta pick.
Yes, no, I actually have had contact with Obama. We play poker on Saturdays.
No, but in all honesty, have you even tried to reach out to him? Or are you simply so intimidated?
I don't know where to contact the guy. His Twitter DMs ain't open.
Okay, that's a hard.
Look, people who watch the Awkward Cast, all 10 of you, at Obama and say, hey, will you be on Awkward Cast? With this, like the election, we need the power of numbers. And our viewer base is basically the amount of people in the Electoral College anyway. Anyways, enough about Obama. Puffin, we got you on the show. What has been going on in your life? Let's hurry before Max continues this tangent. I can see the anticipation in his eyes.
No, right now I'm actually a little bit worried. What if our people actually, with the YouTube upload, everything go there and tweet at Obama, and then eventually they shut down this podcast for harassment?
Is it really harassment if you're saying, please go on this podcast?
I don't know, depending on how you...
people have said worse things to Obama. Anyway,
No, that's like the worst.
Asking me to go on this.
It's pretty insulting.
Has anything interesting happened in the life of Mr. Forrest?
All right. So, coming up in the next few weeks, I'm going to be at VidCon. I'm going to be heading out there and kind of hanging around. So if anyone else is in VidCon, I'll be seeing you there. I'm trying to go to more conventions, so I might even be trying to go to like a PAX, like PAX Unplugged or something, kind of at the end of the year. As far as other stuff that I've been working on, I've just been working on doing my animation. Another D&D story. There are other videos that I've worked on where I'm trying to release like Puffin minis, like smaller videos. And I was kind of like, I don't know how the fans are going to react to some of these videos, so I actually released it. But like, I told YouTube like, hey, make sure I turn off notifications because I don't want my fans notified about it. I just want to like have it on just a small audience to see how people feel about it because I don't want to like spam people with them. And then unfortunately YouTube notified my fans, and so now it's got a bunch of views. It's mostly positive, so I'm kind of like seeing how people react, kind of treading the water, seeing what kind of content I can release there. And also with the minis, I'm trying to kind of branch out from just the tabletop RPG content and see like, oh, I kind of want to talk about other stuff going on in my life, you know. And then the other thing I've been working on is, and I don't know if this is even going to get released, but I've kind of been playtesting a little bit and kind of working on potentially making a superhero RPG.
Ooh. Making, coming up with rules and so on.
Yeah, rules and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of a hack of 5th edition. It's sort of a homebrew system. And the reason that I'm coming up with it was because I play a lot of superhero RPGs, and I've tried a bunch of different systems, and they're all great, wonderful systems. I've had a lot of success with them. But some of the systems tend to abstract out combat, where it's like, you use your power to hinder an opponent, describe how you do it and stuff like that. And I kind of get the feeling, at least with the immediate group that I play with, that they kind of want a more tactile combat experience with their powers. Like, they don't want to just roll the dice and then kind of resolve the combat. They want to have like strategies, and they want to be working with each other, and they want to have that teamwork and stuff like that. So yeah. And I think it's also just because that's like when you watch superhero movies, you're kind of expecting from an RPG, you kind of want to like, there should be a lot of combat, and the combat should be fairly dynamic and stuff. And so I am working on running through some rudimentary rules for that, where I have these different classes and these different groups of superheroes, and like trying to give them different maneuvers that they can do. So like the speedster, he moves faster, so he has a higher move speed, and then in addition, he has a higher initiative. He can, like, if someone gets attacked, he can run in there and then potentially prevent the attack or move someone out of the way. The brute can pick people up and throw people. He can get big, he can get small, he can bulldoze through people, stuff like that. So I'm running through some rough rules and seeing how people like it. The one thing I worry about is it's potentially might end up being a little bit too campy in terms of the combat and fighting and abilities and stuff like that. But we'll see.
Is there someone doing construction outside your window or something?
Yep.
That's the noise.
That is correct.
We've been talking in the text chat like catty high school girls, being like, "Why is that noise?" I don't know. Maybe it's AC.
No, but yeah, I remember.
That was like.
But I remember you have been you have played some kind of superhero game before, didn't you? This one would be different then.
Oh yeah,
the one where what was it? Where it was Spider-Man, but not Spider-Man, and
it was Venom, and it was or Nick Fury, Lucy from Elfin Lade, and then there was who was it? It was a character from One Piece, like Kuma or something like that. That was the group. But the thing is, I like that system and it's fun to use. The one problem also, like every system has its different pros and cons, and with that one, it's very dense. Like there's a lot of material. There's a ton of customizability, but it's a little bit difficult for new players to get into because it's so the character creation is so deep. Because the way that system works is you don't pay for a direct power, you pay for effects, and then you can build whatever powers you want based on those effects. So for example, if you want to have a power that knocks people up into the air and like meteors start pelting them and then suddenly they get sucked into a black hole or something, like you can make that power, you just pay for each effect that you want. And so you can make whatever character you want, but it's such a complicated system that you can never just have a one shot of it. It's always a process that you kind of have to go through.
And you want to make it more one-shotty.
Yeah, I kind of want to make it a little bit easier for people to get into, because I have there are some friends that I have that are really dedicated and they want to sit down and spend weeks making a character, or a week or a day or something. But a lot of my friends, they just kind of want to sit down, they want to play for a little bit, and they're like, oh, this is fun, and then kind of move on.
They want to be the D&D versions of filthy casuals.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your life is very interesting. I can't imagine going to VidCon. I've always thought about it, because I actually do not live far from where VidCon is. I'm up in Palmdale, and it's down in Anaheim. Mm-hmm. So it's not a far drive down. But it's also the thing of, I don't want to be that one person that's walking around the con floor, and I see a massive mob of people, and in front of them is one YouTuber running away, and then I look.
No, that's actually my big fear in terms of me being someone going in there where it's like, I don't want to, like, I want to talk to people, like I want to talk to a YouTuber, but I want to have a conversation. I don't want to just like go up to him and say, hey, I love your content, you're really cute, and then like leave.
Who are you saying you're really cute to? Are you going up to odd ones out being like, hey, you're cute, good job, bye?
There's some other YouTubers I'm interested in talking to. But anyway, the thing is that I definitely also understand your thing about, like, I live close by, but I don't know if I actually want to go there, because I live in San Diego and we have Comic-Con, and a lot of times I've just not been I don't want to even go near that area because it's like really busy. But sometimes I'll go there with friends, and it's gotten so packed, Comic-Con, that it's hard to even get tickets for it. But there are events around Comic-Con that we can go to sometimes where it's like, okay, hang out. And plus, I mean, conventions, like, it's weird because I'm gonna start trying to go to conventions, and it's weird for me to plan to go there and I don't really know anyone, and like having to like, hey, like trying to greet, like how do you talk to people? Like if you know that person as a celebrity, like how do you go up and talk to people? Because it's one thing if you're a celebrity and the other person is a celebrity and you know each other's work, it's like, oh, like it's great. You can just talk to each other and that's normal. But it's another thing when you know them and they don't know you, and it's like how do I start a conversation?
Yeah. Internet people have this tendency to be socially awkward. I have been told.
Yeah, I totally don't know from firsthand experience. I've just been told.
Exactly.
But yeah.
And I think it's also just because like a lot of people like with YouTubing, it's actually kind of solitary. Like it depends how you go into YouTubing, but for most people, it's kind of solitary. You put the camera on, you you do your thing, you make your recording, you put it out online. Like most YouTubers are just one-man, two-man operations, and they don't interact with the fans as much, like they kind of talk on occasion, they get messages and stuff, but it's not the same thing as like being part of like a company or like making videos as part of a group,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hey, at least it sounds like you're getting out there, and that's the important part.
That's
that first
more
step.
than we can say.
Excuse me.
I mean, I'm literally at a situation where I replace my background with a blue screen of my background.
Wait, what?
You're not looking at my background, you're looking at my green screen. Here's my background.
I should have connected the two because you had the green
Exactly.
screen.
How else could I do if I ever find it again? Could I do this? This is the wrong one. This.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
had. I actually played in a Ravnica game, a Ravnica D&D game, yesterday, and the Ravnica D&D game, they had the Twitch overlay, and it was like like they did the cards for the party, and then which were each of the character portraits thing, and then you had for the GM, and he even had like a green screen for the background of Ravnica. That was pretty cool. It was a nice touch.
No, but also, I just see a question in the chat from Hat. How would you like to be greeted at WipCon? High five, or sneaking up from behind, hugging you and being like, "I found you," or what is your preferred method?
That's all
Walking to you
cool.
from across the room with direct eye contact.
Hey, how's it going? That's really cool. Like that's some form of that is acceptable. That's fine. Just saying hi. That's also cool. I think also I have this phobia of going up to talk to someone. I'm like, oh, you're this person. It's like, no, I'm not. Leaves.
There was actually a weird situation like that at MomoCon this year. I'm part of a team, DA Games, which we make a bunch of video game music and stuff. So at MomoCon, we were all VIPs, so we got to go into the VIP room where all the other like actors and everything were in. And there was I think like the voice actor for Amethyst on Steven Universe was in there, and a part of my team was just like, "Oh my God, that's Michaela. How do we talk? What do we do? Should we move to another table? Should we walk away?" And I was like,
We sit down. Yeah.
I was like, because she was by like the food table, and I was getting my 4th Red Bull that day, because I'm healthy. Filling up my great purchase from the Cartoon Network store, and just being like, "Oh, hey, you're Michaela, right?" "Oh, yeah, I am. I was the one who asked that question at the panel about if you could design your own Steven outfits. And you said you wanted an Amethyst in a suit." She's like, "Oh, yeah. That's really cool, man." I was like, "Yeah, you're cool. Don't die today, okay? I'll try." And that was a great conversation. But like, people shouldn't be scared to talk to people, but I understand the fear, because it's like, these are places where people are talking to people all day. But then again, they wouldn't go to the place in the first place if they didn't like to do that.
But yeah, going places, talking people. Anything interesting going on in your life, Key?
Anything interesting going on in your life?
I guess I can. Yeah. I mean, not too much. I mean, we are currently having a little bit of a heat wave, which is a great timing
to wear a suit.
It's not as bad as it could be.
No,
but besides that, getting into the grand finale with Gaming Entice Terraria Achievement Hunters. Mm-hmm. Yuri is a week or two away from becoming a daddy, and therefore I'm losing my co-host. So we did this 6-hour stream yesterday where we actually, except for one achievement, got all of the ones we wanted to get. So we will go for this last one on Tuesday. And
boy.
We have a plan B. We have a plan B to get it. If the game is not playing along, we have a contingency plan. And then there's still a handful of achievements, like the fishing achievements, So.
Oh boy.
Mass, because I know you all like mass. An hour in Terraria is a minute in real time. Therefore, a day in Terraria takes 24 minutes. You get one fishing quest per day. I need to deliver 200. You can calculate how many real-time hours I still need to play to get this fucking achievement. It's just a fucking grind at this point.
So your kind of achievements. I can fully understand that.
I don't even know what I do streaming wise, because I guess this will just be one very long weekend stream where I'm just there doing the fishing things and chilling with people in the chat, something like this.
But checking the chat?
If I literally have nothing to do in the game, maybe even I might. But
yeah.
But yeah, 6 hours yesterday. One last round, one last stream coming Tuesday. Which then actually Yuri will be out for probably half a year, if not longer, because having a newborn baby at home is
maternity leave. Hooray!
Yeah, it's kind of a deal breaker for a 2-hour stream. But yeah, this was literally the biggest event I had this week. I'm not sure. This is probably...
So you want to hear mine?
Please do.
I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, or like, yeah, there's lots of cool and interesting things happens, or like it was really boring.
I have a clue what happened, so...
Sup, everyone? I'm Chrissy, and I had mouth surgery yesterday. Let me tell you about it. Okay, context. Tuesday, I woke up in searing pain. This is a great start to a story.
Every other story went from Chrissy.
Shut up.
100 episodes, 50 episodes, Sharon airs a very sad story featuring Chrissy.
Shush. I woke up in searing pain, and I was like, wait, why does my teeth hurt so bad? Went to the dentist, or like an emergency walk-in. They were like, did you have a filling there before? Yeah. It ain't there anymore. Oh, yeah, and apparently it's been gone for a little while because there's like decay and infection in it. We're gonna have to do a root canal. Ah! Also, your insurance isn't gonna screen it for 3 weeks, so you're not getting it for 3 weeks. Oh! But luckily they were able to do an open med, which is basically they pull out the nerve and put a temporary filling. The things that they would do before a root canal anyway. So I went in yesterday, and they had me all strapped in. They did all the pre-things, putting shit in my mouth, and they put stuff in my mouth, and they were like, oh, so Christine, with this, my dentist was very Russian. I don't know what that has to do with the story, but it made it more interesting of trying to understand what he was saying. So, comrade, you came in for a root canal today, right? We're also going to do this, this, and that on your tooth. So your entire mouth will be numb. What?
I mean, other people are thankful when they have less visits to the dentist.
Yeah, but I had a podcast. But yeah, so they did like a root canal, the open med up here, and then they were also like, yeah, you grind your teeth at night, don't you? Yeah, when I do sleep. Yeah, one of your fillings is like worn down. We got to redo the whole thing. Not filling, a crown. So they had to drill off an entire crown so the tooth became like this small. And yeah, they didn't put enough anesthesia in, so I saw the fucking needle go in my mouth like 3 times each, top and down. And then they were like, how do you feel? And then they gave me something like intravenously to help with the pain. Oh boy, that was something. I re-listened to voice messages I sent Max, and I was like, I don't remember sending these.
I mean, you sounded pretty out of it, so...
Yeah, like, the end of one message was like, put up the announcement. You don't... People expect it from you.
Yeah.
Hope Git went well. I'm gonna go home. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Bye. Like, there were pauses in my brain functioning to try to connect statements. It was great. But yeah, I feel a little bit better now. I'm in pain, but painkillers are a wonderful thing. And then the kid screamed at me at Target, but then started laughing, which I think is the full encapsulation of my week. Pain, but you have a smile on your face while you go through it.
Oh God, I've heard horror stories from dentist situations where, like, I know my brother had a thing where he had to get a filling on one of his teeth, and it turns out that they didn't do it properly, and there was, like, apparently an infection, like, underneath the filling or something like that, or, like, there was still some crud underneath it when they did the filling, so they had to, like, pop it out and then, like, redo it and then put it back on. So, God.
Oh, yeah, I just... I will say this, the dentist people were really, really nice, and they called me Rainbow because
I wonder why.
I had the thing was, when I first went there, I had my hat on. Like, I had a hat on because the dye was still in the thing. Because I dye my hair at night when no one's awake. So, and I don't sleep. So I usually, and especially when you have like 6 colors in your hair, I just had the dye in there, letting it set in, and I had the hat on and I dozed off. Woke up in a huge amount of pain. I didn't have time to wash the dye out, so I just kind of had the hat on. They were like, we have to take this off if we're going to do x-rays, Miss Bucola. The most saturated rainbow color right there. They were like, oh, that's very pretty. And so they've just been like, hey, we remember you. Oh, you do? Yeah, it's hard to forget. Everyone in town knows who I am, not by name, but by the color of my hair. But, like, no, the worst horror story from a dentist is the first time I ever got a root canal, which was back in Indiana, and they were going to put me under because it was a molar, so it was a far back tooth. And I closed my eyes, opened them, syringe this fucking big near my mouth, and I almost bit the dentist's fingers off. Like, they were this close to my mouth, and I just went, like, instinctually. Because when you see something that's going to cause you pain, animal instincts come in, and you're like, no, get the fuck away from me.
I'm not sure how many humans still resort to biting as their first instinct. Yeah, really? Okay, chat, who else has this kind of instinct to bite?
Don't you also have, like, the instinct that if you get, like, a wound on your hand or something, you put it to your mouth?
Yeah, but...
Yeah, that's an animal instinct! Animals are ran by their mouths!
I'm not saying that I don't have a lot of instincts left, but I thought we have overcome the instinct to something is attacking me. My first instinct is punch!
If something is near your mouth, and it's going to go into your mouth, you bite down so it's not going into your mouth. Because it's a thing you know that's going to cause you... I shouldn't have to explain animal instincts to you, you furry.
There, Arte Libroni is with me. He's for punching.
Oh, okay. Look, I'm just saying, compared to my feet, my hands, and my mouth, the feet are stronger in kicking. But if something is closer to my face, I will go with what I think is stronger. And I think my bite is stronger than my little girly punch.
Oh, well.
But yeah, my week was an interesting one in the way that I have made friends with dentists, but also enemies. Because, God, I didn't know they were going to do that to me. And I slept for, like, 10 hours. Like, 10 or... No, the thing was, I fell asleep at, like, 5 p.m., woke up at 3 a.m., got pudding from the fridge, didn't eat all of it, fell back asleep, and woke up at 9 a.m. And Brett came home and he was like, hey, Chrissy, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You left pudding out. I did? I was hungry.
Eat a pudding, eat a pudding, eat a pudding, eat a pudding.
The thing was, first of all, you don't eat pudding that's been sitting out. Then it's just warm. Second of all, I had a nightmare that I missed this podcast because I was asleep.
That's like one of my biggest nightmares is that sometimes I'll get invited to go onto a show or talk to some people or something, and I always have a fear that it's the correct date and time, right? Mm-hmm. It is, right? The last one was on a Sunday. This one's on a Saturday. Or is it Sunday? Or was it that... Wait a second.
That's why I sent a little scooter to remind people, like, hey 2 hours. It helps with time zone misunderstandings. It works as a reminder. I believe we had 1 or 2 people who saw this and were like, oh, shit!
Wooten did that once.
9 times out of 10, whenever there's an issue, it's a time zone issue. I have to schedule games for people, and I say, like, okay, it's going to be noon, this time zone or something, and then sometimes I'll send out the emails or the messages for each person's time zone. I'll get them flipped around or something. It's always a problem.
We had one time when I was visiting him, the daylight savings was happening, and we had to figure out
I was just going to bring that up.
Which way does it go? Like, because I think it started earlier in Germany, but it was like the same time in America. But it was like, we were like, which way? Is it forward or is it back? It required planning.
Okay.
Times shouldn't be... ever heard the song Give Peace a Chance, where there's no borders, no religion? There should just be no time.
Kids, let Grandpa A&Y give you some pro tip. Go for this website. Just type in Countdown Maker in Google and you get this website, because we actually used this when we had like international birthday party calls on Skype. You can just go here, you select the time and date, and then you get a countdown. And this countdown is right for everybody, no matter in which time zone. They see how many hours are left and they cannot misread this.
The only time we didn't use this was New Year's, where we took a shot every time it was New Year's somewhere.
Well, I did so for 4 shots, and then I was done and had to retire.
You did 4 shots. It was like 5 a.m. where you were, and you looked like a corpse that was sitting up.
Yes, it was
But anyways, what else are corpses? Media.
Yeah, just wanted to say.
Great transition there, me.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, Puffin, you are our guest. Do you have something that you want to bring for show and tell?
I have honestly been thinking about this, and I'm just completely drawing a blank.
Okay. I guess we let you go last, and then maybe the 2 media of us can give you inspiration. Keyframe, since you try to throw other people under the bus, how will you talk about yours?
This is an easy one to talk about, man. It's the Try Guys.
I heard the name before.
Okay.
Going by the banner alone, it looks a little bit like those guys who go to men and make them pimp their life by making them more feminine or something.
No, it is not Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. It is not that. I mean, one of them's gay.
But the question is,
which
of them? I say blue. I say blue is a gay one.
No, he's actually straight and married. 2 of them are married, but and one of them has a kid. But no, a spoiler. It's the purple one. He made like a big choreographed video about it that's been really trending on YouTube, raising money for the Trevor Project. Anyway, Try Guys. Just to stipulate, I'm not one for BuzzFeedy type videos. It's not my cup of tea. I watch the animation area of YouTube. I like listening to stuff like Critical Role and My Brother and Me, that kind of stuff. So I like people who are charismatic. This is the reason why these guys actually work for me, because they used to be on BuzzFeed. They are one of the 2 prevalent YouTubers that came out of the Why I Left BuzzFeed era that I think was last year. The other one was Sophia Nygaard, who's also a sweetie. They just do different things, and it's the Try Guys do this. And last year they left BuzzFeed and made their own channel, their own company, which is a huge thing. They did it so they can have creative freedom with their videos and do what they want. And I think they are one of the highest actively getting subscribed YouTube channels, because I think they hit 3 million in half a year. which is fucking impressive. And they're on like a live show. They have a book out. They did all these things. And I mean, they did this in a really tumultuous time because I think the orange one, Ned, was having a kid around this time, starting their own company. Yes, his catchphrase is, "My favorite color is red because it rhymes with Ned."
Oh, okay. So those colors in the top go deeper than just one cover art shooting.
I think it's all their favorite colors. So there's Keith, who's blue, Ned, who's red, Zach, who's green, and Eugene, who is purple. And they just do different things. Like, I think they do like making something without a recipe. Sometimes making food that is absolutely inedible. But my favorite one, which just shows their charisma, that's why I like them, is the Try Guys make Eugene's worst nightmare, which is sitting on Keith's lap, and they film it like a documentary. Where they're like, because Eugene is someone who doesn't like intimacy at all. He hates anything. Keith is my favorite Try Guy. Lanky, dorky, dorky man. It checks all my boxes. But no.
What the?
Okay.
You said they're sitting on his lap.
No, he's not. They're right. He's sitting in a different chair. But no, they filmed it like a documentary where they were like, we have to set up and make Eugene feel comfortable. So they go to like Party City to get decorations and Vons to get like a cider and salads and pre-cooked shrimp because you tear the lap off of a shrimp. And Eugene is just there being like, you guys are fucking stupid. You know we have better things to do. It's the best fucking video. I watch it like 5 times a day when I need to laugh because they're all bards. Like, I hate you. I'm not using D&D terms just because Puffin's here. It's just because it's the best way to describe them. They're all people that run on charisma and you don't think should work together, but do. Because a team full of bards is the most chaotic energy you're ever going to get. And they are chaos. They are chaos incarnate. But I actually would recommend these to people, even though this is, on paper, this is like the not type of videos most people would like. It's purely character-based of just these people are entertaining to watch and listen to. But yeah, Try Guys. Yeah, so that's mine. What about you, Maximilian?
Yeah. So, because, was it last week where I ranted about the one, or year one?
Yes, you did rant about year one last week.
So, because I discovered talking about books, I continue talking about books. I'm becoming the book guy now. Obviously, I'm listening to it. It's an audiobook. But yeah! So here's actually a little bit of a story to... it's called the Dark Magician Trilogy. It's once again a fantasy trilogy, which makes it a nice comparison to the one...
Did you listen to 3 books in a week?
No. I already finished the first one, which is The Magician's Guild, a while ago, and I'm currently...
Sorry, I'm laughing at Enigma's excitement for your media.
I mean, it's also audiobooks, so there's the thing. No, but...
it's a different thing, because it's an audiobook.
No, I'm not a nerd who sits down and reads books. I listen to them while playing video games like a real man. This is how manliness works, right?
I see in Ben's eyes just trying to connect the dots there of...
No, so... No. So I finished the first one. I'm currently listening to the second one. Those books also have a funny story. I have had them as actual physical books in German ages ago. Like the book is from either early 2000s, and I'm not sure in which context I bought it, but I had them, I read them, and I recalled liking them. And now, when I started Audible, this sentence is happening too often in recent history. I also saw that those were there, and for some reason I remembered them, and I was like, hey, let's see if it holds up. I mean, back in the day I was young and dumb. Nowadays I'm not young anymore, but I have grown more critical, and I wanted to see, does it hold up, or will it be one of those things where I'm like, hey, I really like this. I checked it out again and I realized what a tasteless buffoon I used to be. And no, with this one, I have to say, this trilogy is really, and I can full-heartedly say this, okay. So it will not blow your mind, but it's nice. It's especially compared to year one. I will start hating on year one forever.
Oh, that's going to be your thing that
so
no one's going to understand unless they know what year one is?
Wait, I still have it lying around. Give me a second.
No, okay, give you context. He read a shitty shitty fantasy book by someone who's never written fantasy before. Who's like a 63-year-old woman.
200 fucking books under her belt, and she cannot even write comprehensible dialogue. This has nothing to do with fantasy. Her writing is bad. Her fantasy is mediocre at best, but her writing itself is not good.
When's your collab with the dog
fucking
movie?
Times #1 bestseller.
Is there anything in particular about her writing that's like, oh, like this is why it's bad, like any smoking gun?
Characters don't talk like normal people. They have very expositional dialogue. They talk very hammy at times when it's post-apocalypse and magic, and they talk like, especially the magical characters are like really and not natural. Then there are moments where my favorite moment was where two characters in the scene, they talk with each other, and I could not follow who is currently talking because it was not clear. You know the rule where...
Oh, no, because it's like they sound exactly the same.
No, I actually read it, like physically read it. They don't... Okay. First of all, yes, their vocabulary is not specific enough to tell them apart by that, but this is something where it's probably harder to emulate in written form. But no, two characters. One paragraph, the first one talks. Next paragraph, the second one talks. One paragraph where neither talks, and then the fourth paragraph is talking again, and I could not tell who of the two characters was supposed to give this reply. But yeah, other book, better book, not a must read, not one where I would say like, what? But it's good. It's good, and I would rather say let's compare it to something else with similarities. Harry Potter. Say what?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's obviously shorter. This is if this is good or bad, be your decision. No, but here's the thing. So we also have a character, an outsider character who gets in contact with magic. Magic in this world is not something that is hidden. It's a full-fledged fantasy world, and mages are having their own guild in the city and everything. But she is a slum dweller and therefore is not allowed to have magic. But she has magic. Oops! And therefore the magicians start hunting her and shit. And but yeah, so we get to see magician. We get something to get introduced in the magical world, even though in this case it's just the academy and stuff from an outsider's perspective. So usual trope, like, hey, how to best introduce a reader to something extraordinary, have the protagonist be new to it as well. So you have an excuse to explain everything, yada yada. However, what I have to say is the magic system in this is really interesting, because it's not Harry Potter poof magic where you can basically do anything, whatever the plot needs. It's a very restrictive magic. They are fucking powerful. So compared to normal people, they are super strong, but like they can just... But they don't need spells, they don't need wands, it's basically all done by their mind, and they can just create force fields. One of the first spell you learn as a reader is that they basically create a giant force field barrier. Where the normal scrumps who cannot do any magic have no chance in even touching them. So they are strong, but it's a lot more constrictive what they can do. I like it. It's while it's high fantasy, it's a very subtle high fantasy. Does this make sense properly?
No! I like how I go, no. Ben's like,
No, but long story short, I would
Really?
say...
you mean medium length, given how long
Fuck
you go.
you. It's an interesting one. So I would actually say, like, if you are interested in this kind of approach to fantasy, which is not high fantasy with elves and gods and whatnot, but yeah, they're just people and they're magicians, and yeah, I would recommend it because it also has is some kind of story about basically social aspect. Like you have those classes, like the rich and the magicians, who are all fancy, and then you have like, well, the scrum. What's it? Slum dwellers. My goodness, the heat is getting to me. In my defense, the heat is getting to me.
You should have worn a dress like I did.
Yes, I should have. I really should have worn a dress. The question is where do I find one, especially one that supports my shoulder width. No, it's actually an interesting read. It's an okay read where I would say, like, hey, check it out if you can get your hands on it. One thing, so what I personally find funny about it, so I went to Audible again, and it's basically the other way around than last time. Let me see one.
Oh boy.
Here, it's actually the story that gets liked by people, but the narrator is many people have an active complaint about the narrator, where you see like rating is like story 5 stars, narrator 1 star. So some people really hated the narrator, which is weird because here he has his 5 stars. But yeah, he is doing, I would say, a medium job. He's not that bad. He gives all the slum people some, because he's British, I assume, Mr. Richard Aspel, and he gives all the slum dwellers this what's this British this corgi or what's the name? Hey mate, the bag. It's this kind of talk.
Cockney,
yeah. He gives all the street people Cockney accent, which is.
Oi, governor!
Yeah,
You're
basically.
a wizard, you are.
Yeah.
I've got black lung.
Basically, yeah. I mean,
I was very confused with a corgi accent.
What is a
What is a corgi voice?
A corgi wouldn't be like a normal dog because they're owned by the queen. So like they have to be pompous a bit. So it's like ruff, 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 ruff. But yeah, I would guess you would recommend getting the physical book and not the audiobook?
I don't know. I was okay with it. Maybe my recommendation would be go to Audible. I will put the link in the description down below. Go to Audible, click on the sample button. Listen if the voice of the narrator really is this horrible to you. In this case, I would say, yeah, go with the physical book. If you actually do reading. I'm not sure. Do kids still read nowadays?
I mean, they read Reddit.
That's
Only
true.
Reddit and Twitter.
So what authors need to do is just put their entire book on Reddit.
or have every paragraph maximum of 280 paragraphs. Problem solved.
I hate this generation.
Okay.
The thing is, that as a viral like ad campaign could work, because remember Rick and Morty did something like that with like Instagram, of putting a whole episode up in 20-second intervals or something.
Oh, did they now?
Yeah, they did. I think for like the Wubba Lubba Dub Dub episode or some shit, they made an Instagram page and just put 20-second videos that if you watch all of them is the entire episode.
But on that site, actually, related to that, I do know that I tried writing like short stories and novels and stuff like that prior to starting the YouTube channel. And then the reason why I started up the YouTube channel is like, oh, I'll just read my stories to YouTube, just like an audiobook or something. And people weren't really reading those. And then I started telling the Dungeons & Dragons stories and talking about D&D. And then those got way more popular. And then I did the animations, and then those were even more popular. And so now that's what I do.
The death of the author brings the birth of the animator.
Yeah, it was like, I need someone to draw pictures, but I can't find anyone for it, so I guess I'll have to draw. And so I actually started drawing 3 years ago when I started the channel. Like, before then, I did not draw at all. I zero.
Hey, that's actually kind of cool knowing that. Like, it shows that anyone gets their start anywhere. So you don't, and it's not even, so, you know, no one has to have years of experience. What's wrong, Maxie? You look.
I'm feeling attacked. I'm feeling called out.
Your dimples are squeezing in lower than usual.
Puffin, admit it. Keyframe set you up to this.
No.
Keyframe.
I didn't do anything.
It might or might not be the case that I am complaining for a long time now that I want to actually get into doing animatics on YouTube for videos, but I don't get into it.
No, I know. Let me tell you, it's really slow. It's really painful. And I actually, when I first started animating or even just doing artwork, I absolutely hated it. Hated it. Because it's like, with writing, it's so natural. You just, I want to say this. And you just write it out. But then when you have to animate something or draw it, it's so slow. Like, you could have a scene where it's like a character walks into a room, looks around, and then walks out. And that's like an entire day's worth of animation just making that one scene. And it's so painful to get anywhere.
Now I feel better again about not trying.
And then here comes me, the person with a decade of art experience whose whole job is animation and stuff, saying, you're going to suck when you start, but that's okay, because you have to accept that you're going to suck or else you're never going to fucking do it.
You should make a panel about this attitude.
I should make a panel. I actually am at the con that, there's a con in Baltimore. In August that I somehow got approved, a panel that's called You Suck and Why That's Okay at a family convention. And a lot of our friends who applied for panels didn't get theirs, but I did. And I messaged the staff of the con being like, hey, thank you. But you guys are really fine with the title of the panel. Well, yeah, we think it's funny.
Yeah, there was on that side note, I know that I'd released that video which said why cocaine solves all problems, and that video did not get demonetized. Like, other people had their stuff demonetized, but I made a video where I'm like, cocaine, do drugs, like they solve your problems or something, and YouTube's like, nah, that's fine. And I think it's because like 95% of my audience is over the age of like 18. And so because of that, they just don't care what I release. It's when you have chance. Potentially, it's like maybe if my audience was younger, like that's where they'd be more like sketchy about it.
But it's like you make videos about D&D. I see you are a man of taste.
But yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's not what they're thinking.
But yeah, Puffin, we have bought you plenty of time. Has inspiration struck in the meantime?
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to bring up some kind of media or something.
It could be anything, like a movie or a show you've been watching recently.
Okay, so I will bring up video games.
Video games, that's perfect.
So, the thing was that for the longest time I was playing Dota, and Dota 2, and I was like, that was like the one game I was playing for a while. I'm like, I need to play like other games on occasion. So I got back into playing XCOM, and then there was another one, Divinity 2: Original Sin. And XCOM I knew I liked. I just re-got it again for the computer and started playing it on there. And then there was Divinity 2, which is a very interesting game because I've never actually played a top-down kind of, I think it's isometric, I forget the terminology, but it's like point and click where you can move around, but it's an adventure, and it's actually designed with Dungeons & Dragons in mind, in trying to have your character be able to bypass certain things, like, ooh, you could sneak through here, or talk to this person, or use your persuasion and stuff like that. And so they try and you have an entire party of characters, and you can separate them from each other and move around on the map. And so it's interesting because it gives you a lot of different like ways to kind of handle different problems. And every time you're talking to a character, there's different routes as far as the dialogue can go. So that's fairly interesting. But I will say that I love XCOM. Like, I came back to it, and it's this thing where you send these your squad out on missions, and they fight, and then they come back with different resources, and you're building your base, and you send them out again. And there's something about that format that I keep coming back to, because it's easy to just play one game and then get like, I won, and then come back, and then I have resources. I'm like, oh, but I gotta use them, and then spending stuff, and then it's very easy for me to kind of come in and back out. Whereas sometimes when I'm playing like an RPG, like an adventure, I'm halfway through, and then I'm kind of losing the plot, or it's going through a rough thing, or like, who are these characters again? Like, why am I helping to save you? I forget.
I know that.
I think something about a king and my parents were murdered.
It makes me think of there's like a ProZD video where it's like when you play a game and you skip all the cutscenes and you have no idea what's going on.
Oh, yes.
Except just worse.
Yeah.
So basically, your medium is video games in general.
Mm-hmm.
Not
I guess my media that I would bring up is Divinity 2 Original Sin.
Okay. Let's go back to a video of it.
I've never played Divinity.
Yeah.
Wait, who would you recommend Divinity to, if it or people you think wouldn't like Divinity?
I don't know. It's an RPG. It's a story-based adventure. So I guess people who like that kind of a game. I'm trying to think what groups of people. I think a lot of my friends. The reason why I started playing it was a lot of my friends recommended it to me. So. I'm trying to think what else. I guess the other thing is it's not really a pick up and play kind of a game. Like, it takes a while to kind of get into it. And it's one of those things where like, oh, you play it for a few hours,
Yeah, that's actually a thing, because Enigma just asked why I have played it before, but I have not continued playing it. And I can confirm the thing is why my buddy Yuri and we picked it up because it was this game of bromance of the year it came out. There were like a lot of people who just played it together, and this is a game you can easily think like 60, 80 hours into, because it has a long campaign, it has a giant ass world to explore. So you really can get lost in this world quite literally.
Yeah.
And so you should bring a little bit of commitment to it. But if you have a bro or a gal or whatever, a significant other, a buddy to play this with and stick with, then it must apparently been an absolutely amazing experience for that friendship, going by some popular people who actually did this, who stuck through it and were like, wow, we grow closer together over it. The downside, however, is this is more of a RPG-esque game. So the reason why we did not continue playing it as much, or in general, was that the plan was, before somebody became a father, or I'm so salty about it. No, my bro is leaving me.
That's one of the problems with any kind of an RPG is like you play them down and then you play to completion most of the time. I mean, it's like they kind of require that. It's very difficult, and for me, it's kind of, if you quit like halfway or part of the way, it's like you missed out on the storyline or something like that, and it's like, sometimes I just want to pick up a game, play it for a little bit, and then leave.
I know that.
I remember when I was in high school, I used to play a lot of like Final Fantasy, like those longer RPGs and stuff like that. And it's great because it's like then you can sink like 100 hours into it. And it's like 2 hours every night or something like that. Play it for a year.
But yeah. Plan with this one was you don't sit down and play it for 2 hours. You probably sit down and play it for a longer session with your friend, like an entire afternoon or something.
But now you're not going to be a bro anymore, Max. You're going to be an uncle.
I'm already 5 times uncle, and so far So far,
Now
I
you're the
have
bloodless
not.
uncle.
So far, I have not been asked to take some kind of uncle role for little Maya.
But yeah, so Divinity 2 was your media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, it's
Well,
the 100th episode. I guess this screams for something, doesn't it?
what does it scream for? I don't like this. I was trying to move on to the next segment, and now he's doing something. He doesn't plan these.
Yes, wait.
He doesn't screen these by me.
This is not working as I hoped for it. I'm totally on it. I'm not completely.
See, I'm gonna make a survey to give to the guests we've had at this show before, being like, which host do you prefer? And I want to see the percentage.
Wow. So here's however a problem. I'm not sure. You guys can probably not hear this.
No, we can't.
Hmm.
Also, I just noticed with how the stream is formatted, it looks like Ben's head is just thing on a table.
It is, isn't it? But yeah.
But yes.
No.
I'm sure. Yes.
I can give it to you. This way you can. So you guys can listen as well. While I play for the 100th episode. Never heard before. Okay, it's uploaded so you guys can also listen to it.
Don't know what you're doing. Can we just go to the question?
It's a question time song.
Oh, okay.
Time to ask the awkward cast. Let's see how long their sanity will last.
Just now. Okay, welcome to the questions. I'm sure Ben is questioning why he agreed to do this cast, but our fans also ask questions too.
Fine.
Let me just quickly look on Twitter to see if someone actually did.
Somebody did, yeah.
From whom?
The watchful pony did. However, there are 3 questions. So.
Yeah, just pick.
Games are there to top RPG. Do you prefer? Okay. Yeah, I would say one question that is probably interesting and answerable for all of us is: do you prefer the D&D related? Do you prefer to be a player or a DM?
DM.
Okay, this was a very...
Well, the thing is that for me, it's a fairly easy... It's a little bit... I definitely lean more towards the DM side because the thing is that sometimes when I'm a player, or as a DM, you kind of have to be active and like, okay, you do this, you do that, and you have to be constantly involved. And then with a player, you kind of have like wait around and like, oh, I do a thing, okay, it resolves. Down again. And so it's nice being a DM because, you know, you're constantly interacting with people, and I like to be constantly kind of in the middle of things. And then in addition, as a GM, you get to, you know, make the story, you get to sit down and write stuff up, you get to make the world, you get to make NPCs. There's a lot of stuff that you can make. And a lot of people don't like being GMs because you have to make it, you know, because you feel forced to, but it's like, I like doing that stuff, so I like making that stuff up. And then plus it's a lot of times when, it really depends, but like sometimes you'll get GMs who, a big part of GMing is also scheduling, where it's like you're in contact with people, you got to network with friends and be like, oh, can you make it, and kind of resolve like conflicts between the players and make sure that, well, these two just, you know, they're having a little bit of a route, so maybe this person goes to this game, this person goes to this other game, stuff like that, and trying to work that out. And a lot of times when I play under other GMs, like they're kind of bad at scheduling, or they don't really talk to the players, or like, when are we supposed to be playing today or tomorrow? And there's a lot of confusion. And so because I've had so many issues with that, I always try and be on top of it and constantly be in contact with the players and make sure that everyone, okay, we're having it on, you know, Tuesday at 3:00, blah, blah, blah. And so I like making sure that everyone's contacted, and it's like, I like being able to do that, so that way if there's a problem, I can fix it. Whereas if I'm just a player, if there's a problem, I have to let the DM know and then have him or her fix it, and that can be difficult.
Where did your tie go?
The special feature about 100th episode, I slowly stripped down. No, I just wanted to get at least a little bit of the shirt. The jacket I can probably not take off anymore, so I need to.
Oh no! Please take it off. I want to see
No.
the damage.
No. Anyways,
no,
Key, what
yeah,
about you?
Key.
DM or player?
I've been a DM many of times. I've been a player many of times. I see the plus and minuses of both. I'd rather be a player simply because I can annoy the DM to death.
Fucking bards.
My characters are always the ones that are either really interesting stories or meant to ruin everyone else's lives, because you're making me dedicate a significant amount of my time. I might as well have fun with it. I am that kind of. Just to say, the characters I've played is Bard, Paladin with an electric guitar, Bard.
I see a pattern.
There was a group I was running online, and there are 5 players playing as bards. It's so whenever they encounter a problem, there's a bunch of like charm persons that come out to try and resolve it, and if that does not work, that is blind to panic until the GM helps them resolve the situation.
But
Okay,
yeah, I'd
that's
rather
one
be
way.
the player just to, fuck with people. And mostly, like you see, I think there was one in a recent campaign, like beginning of a recent campaign that I did like a year ago, where we were in like a haunted house, and everyone went upstairs, but I was in the instrument room, and I'm the only one that have healing powers, and person was like, "Oh, there is a suit of armor here." The person walks close to it, the suit of armor attacks. And I was on the next turn of initiative. Instead of going upstairs, I play the harp in the room. And I think I took out my phone and started looking up like a string version of the Megalovania theme of and everyone was like, "Chrissy, we hate you."
This reminds me, just today or yesterday, I know I'm ages behind. I came across an episode of Critical Role where Not the Brave is separated from the group, and the group is in a battle, and then turn, Not's round. Okay, Not, what do? Talks to an NPC, takes a drink from her flask. That was my turn. Like,
But yeah,
then
I'd rather
also
be a player for
convincing,
that.
also convincing herself. They will be fine. I haven't heard from them. No news is good news, right? They are fine. I can stay here. Literally use this as his turn or her turn, whatever you want to. Sam, the player, plays Not the Goblin Girl. And I mean, it's staying in character. You know that your real life friends just get their character slaughtered, but it's commitment to the character. I love this idea.
But okay, then what would you rather be, Max, a DM or a player?
It's an interesting thing because the idea of playing D&D or any other pen and paper is nowadays so far out of the realm of possibility for me from time commitment wise. But back in the day, back in school days, this was a long time ago. I actually played a bit of pen and paper with friends.
Didn't you do a campaign where someone tried swimming in a suit of armor or something?
Yes. I'm far too nice of a DM. I let him get away with it. I mean, he nearly drowned, but I mean, he managed to roll the strength check and therefore did survive. But yes, I mostly did DM actually back in the day. I don't know why. It just happened. But on the other hand, nowadays I probably would go with player, simply for that you can just let yourself go, have somebody else do the planning, the mechanics, come up with a nice story for you to experience. and not having to be the one who has to come up with the entire story, because people know I'm not a creative person. I can react to stuff and do smart cookie stuff about it, but coming up with an interesting thing, I would probably just. I mean, here's the thing. I attempted to write a fantasy novel once, and then I took a step back and looked at it and was like, "Fuck! I wrote Lord of the Rings." So I'm not creative. Even when I try to come up with something, I just copy something else. So yeah, I probably would be more comfortable with a player at the end of the day.
I'm certain that there have been many Lord of the Rings-esque campaigns
Rings of the Lord.
Into where it's like many Aragorns, many Legolas.
Exactly. I mean, a MacGuffin needs to be carried from A to B. There is a group of wacky friends who do it. There is the unsuspected anti-hero being, or the unsuspected one being the protagonist, getting stuck into it. It's a bunch of very common tropes. So it's not surprising that a lot of stories end up kind of similar.
Okay.
Anyways, this question was answered.
Yeah, so provided by A&Y's Discord, I'm going to just do a question that's not... We had a lot of D&D questions, I wonder why. So here's one just to split it up a bit.
Oh, boy.
From Beagle Chimera Individual. Ask Awkward, what is something you liked when you were younger that you went back to and was like, oh, no. So what do you look back on being like, man, this was a lot better when I was a child?
I wonder what inspired the Beagle Chimera Individual to ask this question, especially since it was asked while the show was already running.
I don't know, but yeah. I guess, let's see. I know one thing that I went back to recently that I was like, God, this was so much better when I was a kid. It was a book, actually. A book series, Maximum Ride, which is a book series about these like mutated kids that have wings.
Sounds
and like
reasonable.
It was like a full-blown series of books that where they like escape this place, and then they're part of like an environmental team. There's like 12 characters. Because there's like Max, she's the main character, and then another one, and then there's two younger kids. Like the ages range from like 18 to I think 5. I used to eat these books up as a kid. I would read them all the time, and I read the entire series up to the point where I got out of school, and I went back to it recently and read some of the books, and I was like, wow. Now I know why there's the stereotype of young adult fiction. Like, it's so tropey and pandery and shit. And, like, the entire logic of them being mutants and stuff doesn't make sense. And how they describe how they hide their wings half the time. Like, they cock them in and put clothing on top of it. Which I'm like, okay, all of them are going to look like fucking Quasimodo in that case. And it's so dumb. And then I was just trying to remember the book's like actual timelines, and I'm like, wow, none of these make sense in timeline with each other. And I was like, why did I like it so much? And I think it's merely the concept of these which works with the young adult fiction. It's these characters that by physical attribute are outcasts of the world, but they overcome it and are the power fantasy. It is literally a teenager power fantasy. And it's like, God, I'm not the only saving grace I had from my reading as a kid, besides reading fan fictions on fucking fanfiction.net and shit, was reading Stephen King novels. Like, I am a woman of taste, but that was my pitfall there. But yeah, that's mine. Like, oh no, young me was dumb.
Puffin, any regrets on your end? Also, chat question goes to you as well. Do you have any things you revisited and were like, holy shit, how could I ever like this?
Yeah, because the thing is, I'm actually thinking about that, and this one's a very tough one for me because there's a lot of stuff, like, there's stuff that I read that I didn't like when I was a kid, or that like, oh, this is okay, that I completely probably forgot about.
So the opposite.
And so I'm thinking, yeah, this is the opposite.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to. I remember a lot of the stuff that I went back to. I actually remember like really liking it again. Like I remember the Harry Potter series I read as a kid, and then like when I was older, I reread them, and I was like, I still really like this series. And then, but I think one I did come across was I remember playing, and actually I brought it up earlier, was the Final Fantasy series, was Final Fantasy X. I used to play that video game all the time, really liked it, and then I went back, and the thing is that it's just, the characters just don't shut up. Like, they're just always talking. You're just nothing but cutscenes. And it's like, and it made me and some of the stuff is okay, it's decent. It's just that it's too like dense for me in terms of there's all this talking. I'm trying to remember exactly what I remember. I think I rewatched like Lost, like the series.
Oh God, Lost.
And I remember there's a few episodes that I really like that are like, wow, this is really solid writing. But there's a lot of there's this build-up that's happening, and then once you've watched the series in its entirety, and then you go back to rewatch some of the stuff, it's like, oh, they didn't really talk about that. Oh, they didn't go into that detail. Oh, it wasn't really discussed here. And it made me realize, like, because in Lost, like, there's some episodes that are really good, and there's some really good, great plot lines, but then there's this entire plot line with the island that is just nothing. Kind of a thing, or just like doesn't go anywhere, or they do this thing of like they start a mystery and then ignore it and then start another mystery, and then they're just starting mysteries, but it doesn't actually, like, some of them don't really pan out. And so I liked it less on the second viewing because I'm like, oh, some of these things don't pan out. But I mean, there's still some plot lines that are really solid. Like, I think John as a character was like just amazing, like really cool. And there's a lot of great moments, but it has those problems. And the second time I watch it around, I'm like, I can't ignore these.
I had that with this whole Evangelion stuff, like the whole drama going on with the dub on Netflix. I rewatched the old dub. And I was like, I still like it. I like Shinji's voice, but oh wow.
I have to rewatch that series sometime because I remember it was one of the first animes I got into when I was kind of going back and rewatching them. And I remember absolutely loving it. Like, I didn't, like, some people recommended not watching the end, and I didn't watch the end. But it's like I watched most of it, and I remember just watching it thinking like, wow, this is amazing, because it was like really, really emotional, like really. Like, there's a lot of drama. It's very dense and stuff like that. But then I would hear from the fandom where people complaining about Shinji and complaining about the other characters and stuff like that, and how melodramatic they are and stuff like that. And I did not get that on my first watching, so it makes me want to go back and re-see it just to be like, is that actually...
Yeah, people will argue about the voices all the time, and some people hate Shinji's English voice, but I'm just like, look, I can't hate it after that commentary thing the actor did with the end of the last credit sequence of the episode, being like, the movie better answer all this stuff or I'm out. You ran out of ink too, you bastards. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, that's great. But what about, oh yeah?
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up, Big O. I remember I was really confused when I saw it as a kid, and then I rewatched it, and I absolutely love that show now. It's great. It was one of the ones that I came back to. I love the world, and I love that series. It's great.
Oh, okay. But what about you, Max? What's something that you went
I actually had this video game, Freedom Force, which I owned and loved. It's basically like all the hammy cartoon stuff, like of the 60s. Like, they have those intro scenes, like you see it here, which are completely in a comic style, and you have this elderly patriotic man who then comes in hears mobsters, they shoot him, and then he gets in with the stuff that gives people superpowers in this particular universe, and he now is a superhero, and goes out as the Minuteman. Ta-da! And they have comic book covers for every level. Like, every level is basically a comic book. And in theory, I still love it. I love the idea. I love.
But
Why do you think that? But and here you see the graphics for 90s or late 90s, I believe. The graphics are also okay. I have seen worse. However, I actually recalled loving it. Bong. Even the cartoon effects in game, like as the actual animations. All it's great potential, but I bought it when I saw it on Steam, and I was like, oh, the nostalgia! I loved it so much. It's a gameplay. The pacing is so shitty. I mean, this is a tutorial, so this doesn't count. But the second level, it's so Then you run around, and it's apparently there's a dialogue again, but especially the next level, you have so many. You have to do a little bit of the pausing thing, like pausing a lot and going back to redo it again, because the game, kind of like XCOM, where we talked about it earlier. Just that it's in theory not turn-based, but it doesn't really hold up. The gameplay is like super bad pacing. I believe I made it to the second or third episode level. They convinced me that they are all comic episodes. Level, and it was such a drag that I was like, okay, I need a break from it, and I kind of did not really return to it afterwards. And this was how long ago? Let me see. What does my Steam say? Last time played. Release date 2002. I probably the Steam release date. Last play 2014. Yeah, I haven't touched this game in 5 years.
Oh.
I love the idea. I love the art. I love the hamminess and the cliches they play with, but gameplay wise, it's really. Oh boy.
Well, with that, here's a question that someone took great effort into. Snickering asks, you come across a strange man who is selling magical wares. He claims that so long as it doesn't grant wishes, he has the item, guaranteed. You only have enough money to buy one magical item. What would you choose from all magical items? And he also had like an alternate part where it's like, a favorite magical item or power in D&D games. But yeah, if you could get a magical item as long as it doesn't grant wishes, what would you get?
Boots of flying. Probably boots of flying. Yeah.
Everyone wants to fly.
Okay, nothing that grants wishes, but what about a genie hunting kit?
Huh. I'm trying to imagine what that would look like. Would it just be a metal detector, but it finds magic lamps?
Ding, ding, ding. Exactly, and then like, well, this item doesn't grant wishes, but this magical lamp I found with it does. Should I go all Harry Potter and be like invisibility cloak?
I mean, you could. It's your choice, man.
I heard the other day we were talking. It was like, oh, what 2 spells would you take if you could have any spells in D&D or something? And someone said like silence and hold person or something, and we're like, why?
There's a story behind it.
I think mine would be whatever magical items give mind control abilities. Why would I need wishes? When I can control someone's mind to do what I want, then my wish would be granted.
I want you to go away. It's granted.
No, it's like I have like a lyre or like a lute, and I just play a couple notes, and it like a siren's flute or something. Let's call it that, and I just play a little ditty, and then they just do what I want, and it's like. So yeah, this plane ticket's gonna cost like $400. Doo-doo-doo! I mean free, and here, have a first class upgrade. Oh my god, I sell things at conventions for a living. That would be the best power. Like people at my table being like, I'm not
You
sure
sell out the first day.
I'll take all your clocks. Like,
I mean, don't you have actually people who come by and do that?
yes, I do.
Steel.
Michael does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a friend named Science Steel Rail whose name is Michael, and he comes to cons with like $3,000 and buys shit from all of his friends.
But
he is the goodest of boys.
But he's also a stickler for rules in a weird way. So he's in the vending hall before it's officially opened because he helped with the build-up. And he waits, and the moment the vending hall opens, okay, now I buy this, and then...
Yeah, he helps sets up the booths, but he doesn't just... And we're like, Michael, we could just give you the stuff now, and you give... No, I'm going to give people a fair chance. Then he walks away, and then he comes right back and buys stuff.
And you have to restock your entire...
What do you think's going to happen in the 2 minutes between you walking away and you coming here? But it's just like, I just walk out, it's like, Chrissy, aren't you supposed to be in the vendor hall? I'm completely sold out. But it's only the first, hour of the con. Exactly. Anyway, who wants lunch? I would buy that. Give me something that gives me mind control abilities. That says a lot. All of our items says something about our personalities. One wants to get away from problems. One wants to be there, but not actually. One wants to control people.
Oh, the invisibility cloak counted? Good, because I was still thinking for a serious answer. Serious as the answer can be for a question about buying a magical item from a random stranger on the street. With the one restriction that it cannot fulfill wishes.
Yeah, okay. Here's a question that's specifically for Puffin. From Hat. Great name. So, Puffin, you made one of the craziest characters in D&D called Absurd.
Yep.
Yep.
What is your second most wanky character you've ever made?
Second most wanky. I think probably the second most was Trixie Starbright. That would probably be after Absurd. It'd be like, ding, just your average high school girl. Yeah. That character. So just to summarize, in case people haven't heard, so Trixie Starbright was I was playing a Pokemon game, and so I had to come up with a character, and so I decided to make this average high school girl, yeah, named Trixie Starbright. And when that character played, there was kind of a joke canon that maybe she was secretly evil, where it's like, no, why? How could you do that? And then as it went on, it was like, no, this is the actual canon. She is just evil. And part of it also was that she was trying to be the most popular girl in school. And she was competing with another girl who was going to be the school president. And so they were both head to head. And so she started trying to sabotage the other girl and frame her for stuff to try and get her to get out of the running.
Why is she coughing blood?
Why does she keep coughing blood? Bullshit. Yeah, why? We don't need to know the answer to these things. I also like the fact that she's like a pink-haired anime high school girl, but the outfit kind of looks like Caillou.
I have no idea how to draw girls' outfits. I assume it's just colors.
Well, it works with her being evil because Caillou is evil. Scientifically, one tiny tangent. They did a sociology test where they took a bunch of toddlers, like little kids, and they had one group watch Caillou and one group watch SpongeBob or some other kids' cartoon, and then tested their behaviors after watching it. The kids who watched Caillou threw more tantrums in a show because Caillou throws tantrums every episode. That show, meant for babies, is more detrimental to a baby's development than the yellow talking sponge.
I have no idea what Caillou is.
Caillou is a show for 3-year-olds. It's on PBS. I know it because I babysat kids and they watch, and it would be the thing that would be on the kids' cartoons. But it's about a 3-year-old who cries whenever he doesn't get something he wants.
Sounds about right.
It's terrible. But yes, okay, so let's see.
But yeah, Keyframe, what about your wackiest character?
My wackiest character? Not counting the paladin that plays electric guitar. Because honestly, that character was just a cool cool paladin character, I based him off like Bon Jovi and stuff. Specifically, I was like, okay, if I had to turn the song Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi into a character, it would be a paladin with an electric guitar, where it's just like, it was kind of like McCree, because it was a male character. It was like a McCree paladin that played electric guitar because I think his wife was a bard and the wife left him, but he learned how to play guitar from that kind of thing. But he was a relatively normal character. My wackiest character that I've ever played was it was in middle school or high school. There was like a little D&D club campaign thing that I joined in for a few sessions, and the character was a Cloud Lord. What is a Cloud Lord, you may ask? It was kind of like a Sailor Moony, Tokyo Mew Mew-y kind of character, except made out of clouds. And the thing was, she just was the most useless fighter because she was made out of clouds, but she wasn't like a bard or anything. She was the one time I played a class that wasn't a bard. She was a fighter, and she had the lowest stats and most disadvantage rolls because she's physically made out of clouds.
Sounds about right.
I was like, can I make this a character? And they were like, I mean, we could, but we're going to have to make you roll super low all the time. I'm fine with this. They tried to kill me in the first few games. I survived a lot longer than I thought I did. But that's me.
Yeah. I literally don't have a wacky character, so I guess we can move on. Yeah.
So for the sake of time, I think we can go through like 2 more questions and then our final thing. Because people are guests and in other countries. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Puffin, how did you get your name? Someone named A and Y asked this in the Discord. I don't know why, but hey.
Context. Puffin told us how he got his name before we were live, and we were like, hey, this is actually fucking interesting, so go.
Yeah, the story is very lackluster, but that's anyway.
So the deep and mysterious story of Puffin Forest.
So what happened is I was setting up the channel. I'm like typing in, putting in the info, blah blah blah, and then as I'm putting in the info and everything and changing stuff around. They're like, hey, you need to set up a name, and I was like, I can't think of a name. And it's like, oh, you have to put in a name, and I'm like, I don't know what to put in. And so what I did is I went over to random noun generator, and I picked 2 random nouns, and the first one was called Lobster Forest. That was the first one which came up, and then I just did some more random nouns, and I was like, oh, they're Puffin, I'll go Puffin Forest. And so I put in the Puffin Forest, and that's how I set up the website, and then I started uploading videos for it. And then, and honestly, in my thought, what I thought is it's like, oh, it's just the name of the channel. My name's whatever, Ben. And then people are just going to call me Ben. But it's like whenever you message someone from the channel, it says, Puffin Forest says something, 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 something. And so people started, I thought I was calling the channel something. And it's like, oh, I'm
myself.
I'm myself. But it was like, it's like when you call the channel that, people think you are you're Puffin, anyway. So I am now. But that was not originally what I had kind of intended. So, so anyway, the way I got Puffin Forest was I picked 2 random nouns, and that's how I got my name.
I mean, thank God you didn't pick Lobster Forest, because imagine people be calling you, hey Lob, how you doing today?
Lob. I think, part of the reason I also have to say, the reason why I selected 2 nouns was because I felt like, I don't know, I wanted something that was like easy for people to remember, because sometimes if you have a name, like it's hard for people to remember names because there's no like context. And then something about, I felt like nouns were easier to spell, because it's like, oh, as long as you know the noun, you know how to put it down. Like, for example, if the name was like library book or something, like as long as you know how to spell library and you know how to spell book, you can type it in and you'll find the location, whatever it is. And so I picked 2 nouns because it's like just for convenience sake. And I think there was another part of me also that when I first started the channel that thought like, hey, I'll just be weird. What's weirder than selecting 2 random nouns to be a part of your name? Like that's so unexpected.
Oh boy.
It's so unexpected. And I think I was coming from that point of like YouTube weirdness where it's like randomness. That's funny.
Toast.
And yeah, and so that's where the name came from.
What a harrowing tale.
Good question.
Okay.
I have to say this guy asked a good question.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. He asked a great question. Took me a second there. The hourglass span for a little bit longer than it probably should have. Still Sick asks, what's the silliest thing you've spent a fairly long amount of time on purely because of matters of honor?
If you're referring to gaming in ties,
I don't know.
I'm not sure
if we were asking about stuff you did, I would think Oreo time is something you spent too long on in that you spent time on it at all.
Golden spent a lot more time on it.
I don't care. You caused him to do it.
That's true.
To give you context.
I can show it.
Okay. Me, Max here, and Brett, my boyfriend, we were in a hotel room together, and he had a pack of Oreos. Brett loves Oreos. I don't remember what spurred it, but then he made a video and had like Max record it, and it was like him going Oreo time and then dumping a whole pack of Oreos onto himself. And then Max made a fucking video of the Oreos being dropped with different songs playing, and fucking I hate it.
Okay. I have a story as far as how much time with that question was. There was one time I was playing with a friend. He was playing, I think, Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy. It's Kingdom Hearts, the first one, I believe. And I forget, you have this rival character, and you can challenge him to a fight. And he's like, when you first start out, he's like really powerful. Like he's a fairly good, he's a tough fight. And so, and he keeps track of how many times he beats you. So if you fight him, you lose, like, oh, that's 1-0. And then if you fight and then he wins again, then it's like, oh, it's 2-0. And this is like, you've just started up the game, and this guy is really tough. And so my friend fought him over and over because he's like, I got to get one win on this guy. And he played, and I think it got 20 up. And then finally it was 20-1. He'd gotten that one win. I was like, And here I am, I'm just sitting there watching him because it's like I got nothing else to do. I'm like, oh, okay, finally, it's been like, what, an hour and a half, you finally won. Like, okay, let's go on, do something else. And he's like, gotta even the score. And I'm like, no! Because he's like, I gotta play 19 more games, so it's 20-21.
Oh, Lord. I had something similar to that. This is my stupid thing. In Heroes of the Storm, there was this one brawl thing that they had where it was like the most expert level thing. You only had to win once and you would get it. No one could make it through in the time limits and shit. Every team died. All of our friends gave up. And then I was like, I'm going to live stream this all by myself doing this. And it took like 3 days until 2 days I didn't stream it. I was just playing it and I was like, fuck, I can't win this. Why is it so hard? And then I finally won it. I was so happy. The angels were singing, and then the loot box that was the reward came with it, and it was full of common items. I had to mute the stream and walk away because I was so mad. I started screaming like, fuck! And then I came back being like, hey guys! What about you?
What does it say about us that mine is also video games, I would say? I mean, if we look at my highest video games we have, I know 330 hours is not so much. I know there are people with 4 digits in TF2 and whatnot. No, but I did spend 330 hours in Defense Grid. God damn it, I have a very, very annoying fly in here with me.
Does that say something about your amount of sweat?
Probably. I have showered right before the stream, so this is really not fair. But yeah, I got all achievements in this game, and it is like over 300 hours, and the last 100 hours probably were just grinding to get those last achievements. Fallout New Vegas, I have all the achievements, nearly 300 hours grinding. Racketeer, it doesn't have achievements, however, it has completionism in regards to items you can collect in-game.
Does
Nearly
this say
300
something about
hours.
you with achievement hunting, maybe?
I know, right? But I want to point out, Terraria is only on spot 5, and we're nearly done. Before there is an update in about a month, which comes with new achievements.
I
This
feel
is a
bad
real
for
thing.
you,
This is a real
but I
thing.
don't.
I'm not fucking it.
He's doing it to himself.
Exactly. So it's like you
this is-
start to feel bad for someone because it's someone you care about. It's like, oh, honey, and then it's like, oh, you're doing it to yourself. Well,
In my defense.
there's no defense
like
a
here.
child.
There's just defense.
No. There is a defense. I am not just doing it to myself. I also did it to Yuri by forcing him to play this with me and getting all the
that's better.
achievements. Exactly. I make people suffer with me. I'm
You're not just you're not just being dragged down a hole. You're being dragged down a hole while you're grasping at someone's ankle.
I know, right? I secretly have this theory. He found himself a girlfriend, now fiance, and got her pregnant just to get out of gaming and ties every week. I don't think so, but I would not.
Do you want to untighten the tinfoil hat you're wearing? Because I feel like it's cutting off some circulation up there. But, you know, you guys have sent us questions. Some of them good. Some of them we ignored. No, but it is time for our last, final, small segment of the show. Our 100th episode. We haven't had this for 100 episodes, but at this rate we will. We have a segment here on the show provided by our good friend Wolfhead. When it comes to video editing software, the best one depends on which one who can go the longest without crashing. Fuck, marry, kill. Sony Vegas, Adobe Premiere, and Windows Movie Maker. Remember to save your projects every 2 goddamn seconds. So welcome to FMK Video Editing Software Edition.
So,
I'm so sorry, Puffin. This is what this person asks every episode. It's not the worst one he's ever gave. He once did a fuck, marry, kill with us and the guest at the episode. So, be happy you didn't get that one.
Okay. I am.
But yes, I've used all 3.
okay. So you're probably the most qualified to actually answer this question.
Yes.
Please go first.
I'll marry Premiere.
Oh, why?
It's the best one.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Actual editing wise, because it has all the programs of Adobe connected to it because of hyperlinking and all that stuff, and I have to use Animate and shit. So I'm going to use the thing that I'm going to marry the thing that has the most connectability with everything else. And then kill Movie Maker. No, just no. I can't imagine being intimate with something where its best feature is a rainbow filter. And I guess by default that means fuck Vegas, but you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I did do that
perfect.
just for that joke.
Great. Now I need... Okay, how do I spin it to not come up with the exact same answer?
Yeah, because I honestly, I think I probably come with this one because I do use like HitFilm Express, but it's when I've used Premiere and I love it. I think it's really great. I don't know anything about Sony Vegas. I have not used it. Actually, I did. Okay, technically, I think I used it for a little bit and I can't remember, so that's not a good experience. So Vegas, I can't remember Vegas. Probably too hungover. And then Movie Maker, of course, is terrible.
Well, there you
okay.
go. We're joining the marrying Premiere camp. So
Okay.
okay,
Whew.
Max.
Giving a different answer. Whew, this will be tricky, especially since I also never used Vegas, or at least cannot remember.
You can't remember as well.
So
That's the perfect reason why you fuck it. It's like a one-night stand you have no memory of until it like comes back 9 months later with Sony movie studio.
you're not making it easier for me to give any different answer because this is too perfect. I mean, secretly we all agree that Movie Maker should be taken behind the barn. That Vegas.
And then you take Vegas behind the barn for a different reason.
Exactly. I take Vegas into the barn and Premiere.
You and Premiere own the barn.
And if you can afford it, you settle on Premiere. However, I take Adobe Premiere behind the barn because while they are the best, I will not even challenge that. They are, I mean, literally animators for Hollywood fucking use the Adobe products. But they are a mean corporation. They fuck their users over. They need to be put down. This is the best I can come up with to twist it up. So
why don't you just fuck Premiere if they fuck their users? Then you can.
Oh, that's also a good one, but it doesn't work. Oh, that would have worked. Okay, I changed.
No. It's these backsies. You killed Premiere. Now you're stuck with. You're stuck with Movie Maker in Vegas. Which one do you boink and which one do you kill?
Well, there is a very obvious answer to that. I mean, I in hindsight regret that I did not fuck Premiere Adobe because that would have made so much more sense. Anyways, no, obviously I still have to join you guys in fucking Vegas because come on, with
Don't
a name,
say you're joining us with that. That
makes it even more awkward. But I still have a thing to say. The show is not over yet.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, isn't it true that we all, at least the ones who have a PC and not a Mac, are stuck and have our Movie Maker on our computer, and we are basically indirectly married to it? Because it's there on the computer for everybody except the Mac users who don't have Windows Movie Maker but iMovie. But please, come on. I mean, come on. I know YouTubers who still use iMovie, but come on, please, come on. That's the best I got. Sorry.
I mean, well, people, I have to say. For 100 episodes, we've been doing this song and dance, and we've roped in people for almost 100 episodes to join us in the song and dance, and Puffin is our 100th victim, our 100th person, our who knows how many person that we have not said in the preliminaries that there's a fuck, marry, kill question. So, Puffin, what did you think of your experience here on the 100th episode of the cast?
It was really cool. Thanks you guys for having me. It was great.
Oh, we thought you hated it. We thought it would make you feel
awkward.
No, but it's cool.
A and Y and Key say hi to the people in the chat. The memes are seen on this live stream as they talk about random grabs. Time for awkward guests. It's the awkward. Random guests and funny gags on the awkward guests. It's the awkward. Hard work and analysis, which you do not want to